Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. I'm back doing another episode of Where Are They Now? And for those of you who hadn't heard the first episodes of this series, I will recap. These are like my favorite episodes. As you know, I coach a lot of people. And of course, you have heard me coaching people live on this podcast with my Coaching with Kimmy episodes. And I also have a ton of clients who I send off into the world after coaching with them. And it's so amazing and rewarding when I hear countless success stories. In fact, I just had one hot off the press come in last night of a client that I worked with who just announced that she got married and she's pregnant. And so, while those are fun for me, I like to bring on real live people to tell their success story and just like how their life has improved and often how they find love. So I do these Where Are They Now episodes to inspire and motivate you by hearing what happens to people after I work with them, whether that is on a podcast or working with them over time as clients. So I hope you listen to these and get inspired by people's successes and know that success can happen to you too. And it all starts with a call. And so today I am bringing on a beautiful woman who actually heard me on another podcast. And she started listening to my podcast and decided to hop on a free call, as I always offer here, to explore ideas of how she could date without getting in her own way. And here's the thing, like, she decided after the first phone call to invest in coaching with me because she realized she needed some direction and just, how to date and how to like help her get out of her own way. She had tried other forms of coaching. She did some therapy. And while they were helpful, she knew that there were other things she needed that were outside of just talking and overanalyzing to death her issues to move into action. And overall, she had a hard time balancing her life. She overanalyzed everything and was completely baffled how to exude and own her feminine energy. And she knew there were things she needed to work on, such as putting herself first, flirting, being more sexy confident, and expressing her feelings, which all contributed to her feeling just paralyzed with dating. And some other things we uncovered, like she would second guess herself a lot. She had a lot of limiting beliefs. There tended to be a lack of chemistry when things just wouldn't progress. And she knew she was somewhat stiff and not open, especially when she liked someone. So after doing a ton of reflection and work on herself, and she really did the work, which of course included getting her a whole new sexy wardrobe, which we'll talk about. She has learned to express herself, gain her sexy confidence, set boundaries, and feel more relaxed and balanced. But I'll let her tell you the rest. Welcome, Haley.
Hey, Kimmy, thank you so much for having me. It was so cool to kind of hear that journey.
I know. Isn't that wild? And that's why also we were talking off air about this, why I do these, because you forget. You forget where you were and how far you become, especially when you're just kind of focused and doing the work, in little chunks. But when you look back, you realize how much you've grown, and you certainly have. So anyway, no, I'd love for you to just that was my version, but I would love for you to share with everyone just how was life before?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so when I started listening to your podcast and just really resonated with a lot like of your style, and just you seemed really like authentic and genuine, and I liked what you had to say. And I at that point in my life, so I really felt like this urgency and pressure to kind of find the person. Like, I'm in my late 30s, a lot of my siblings, a lot of my family friends got married at a pretty young age. And I just felt like a limiting belief, time is running out. And I just had this like kind of low level anxiety or, pressure to like hurry up and get the guy, so to speak. And I really, I've been in 2 serious relationships, and then what feels like a lot of just, kind of 3 dates, 3 months. And I just really started to dread kind of like that whole dating process. And like you said, I had tried other forms of coaching before and therapy. And it just was like, you're right. Like, I was just in my head and I wanted to let go of that, let go of the expectations, and let go of like worrying about what might happen, and just really drop in and be more present and grounded and just enjoy the whole process more. And yeah, so that's, and I, again, like what resonated with me and listening to you is just kind of your background, but as both like a therapist and a coach, because I knew you could help me really like identify some of those limiting beliefs and patterns, and then really step into like the experiential component of it and help me get out of my own head and put things into practice. And it's just been such a fulfilling, just eye-opening journey. And
Hmm.
yeah, so that was a little bit about kind of where I was and
Yeah.
why I wanted to work with you.
Yeah, no, that's so awesome. And like, do you remember that girl that I described? Like
It,
when, the feelings that you were like, what was kind of your experiences when you would go on dates, and how would like being in your head affect you? And, just kind of more the emotions, because that is actually meta to what we were really working on. It was the feelings.
yeah, yeah. So like I said, I didn't really enjoy the process, and it kind of felt more just like robotic. Like I was just kind
Yeah.
of going through the motions, and it was just kind of like I was going through the motions, and I felt like I was quote unquote like trying, but not like it just wasn't fun. The chemistry just like wasn't there. And then I still kind of had these beliefs of like, it was just kind of like another example of like, see, it's not happening, like it's not going to happen. Like, so I had these kind of like overarching beliefs that um like I guess I was aware of, but it was like it didn't really feel like I didn't know what to do about it. And I think that showed up definitely in like how I was showing up on dates and just like in my everyday life, and in a lot of different relationships. Like I just had this belief of like, it's not like it was a scarcity mindset of like
Yeah.
it's not going to happen type of a
Yeah.
thing. And I knew I needed to shift that because I knew it wasn't true, like I guess deep down, but I needed that to shift.
Oh my God. And it's like a loop that you are caught in. And I see this happen all the time is, you know, there's some fears and patterns that existed, and we uncovered that too, that, you will almost make yourself right with your
Hmm.
limiting beliefs because of the fears of whatever that is. And um, I think that's such an easy thing to get caught up in. And so it's like what you want is also what you fear. And there's this like rubber band effect, And so you'd get a little bit, and progress a little bit. And then bing, it would like set you back and say, see, I was right, and I think a lot of times we self-sabotage. And I know that that was stuff that was kind of cool. I remember it. I'd love for you to talk about some of those powerful sessions we had where were talking about your family and upbringing and how that all tied in.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things that we uncovered early on in working together was the feelings portion, like you
Yeah.
said. And
Uh,
kind of growing up, I realized like I got a lot of my like self-worth and like love around achieving or doing, but not so much in like how I was being or like really expressing my feelings. And I
mhm.
felt like, or you helped me discover that really like feelings were not encouraged or welcomed, I guess. And if I did have big feelings, like it wasn't well received. And so I would show up. So like I would in my family dynamic, and I can still kind of see this today, but I'm more aware of it now, is
Yeah, yeah.
when I go into the room, it's like I would kind of observe and see how everybody else is feeling and what the mood is, if it was happy or if it was more tense, or and then I would adjust how I was based off of the room. And so you really helped me, with just different exercises, help me even like understand or become aware, like specifically what I was feeling, and
Mhm.
being able to speak that. And, is this what I want to be feeling? And how can I shift? And that was super helpful for me because that was really a big step in helping me create healthy boundaries. And
Yeah.
I don't even think I like connected those dots at the time, but I realized just like that work and identifying how I was feeling and then being able to articulate that was so huge for me. That was a really big shift. So yeah, that really stood out.
No, it was really powerful, and just seeing you connect the dots with that And, it's like one thing to have an understanding, but it's another to see how it's playing out in your life and having that awareness when things happen. And to your point, I think what was happening with the overanalyzing was that there was this reactive dating that you were doing rather than being proactive. So you would hesitate, wait to see what other people would think and feel, and then you react. And what it was really empowering for you to say, and I know it's still a journey, right? Like things never happen overnight, but the fact that you're stopping yourself and you're jumping more, like I see that, and we'll talk about our recent in-person experience with it. But yeah, like I think often too, when you're so concerned about what others think and feel, you almost lose even what you feel too. Like I think even just inherently, like you were starting to say, hey, wait, I don't like this. I feel sad. I feel angry, like just those
Mhm.
fundamental skills.
Yes, 100%. I mean, that is so accurate. And it's cool because I'm starting, like, as I've gone on some dates, like I'm starting to, like, I can sense if, like, oh, like it doesn't, like, I may be perceiving that they may not be seemingly to be interested in my story, but like I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to slow down and I'm not going to try to, speed up my story. I'm just going to, like, not let that bother me, and just I'm going to enjoy telling my story and, like, letting that be okay, and not being so, like, concerned with how I think that they're perceiving me. And
Yes.
that's really, it's like a freeing place to be.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I think also what you were doing is you were falsely assuming what other
Mm,
people were thinking. And,
yeah.
right? Because I mean, early on, pre-programming in your family system, you were left to guess what was happening, right? And so if no one's talking about what's happening, of course you're just left to guess. But now, like what you just said is a really good example. You might be sharing a story or coming across a certain way, and then you might see a look on his face, and then you falsely hypothesize what you think he's reacting to. But maybe he got something in his teeth. Maybe like he just started thinking about something,
Yeah.
and so rather than assuming, the notion is what you just said, you keep going, you own your story, you're like really confident within your skin. And if you see something, you just ask about it. Say, oh, did I lose you? Instead of just saying, oh my God, he's not interested, I'm going to shut up. And I think it's those moments that are so crucial as now you're getting into the dating thing. So that's awesome to hear.
Yes, yes, and I love, like, hearing that kind of reflected back to me. It's, what yes, 100% true.
Yeah. And okay, we have to talk about your sexy confidence because oh my God, like visually and just like let's just talk about the style and the wardrobes thing.
Yes, I have to tell you another story too. I haven't told you yet, but yes, with the style, and I love this part of your coaching methodology, because I have had, like, friends and family help me, like, with some dressing, and I was like, I think I have a pretty decent wardrobe, but you helped me, like, through that process, realize, no, I definitely had some room to improve. And so, like, one of the things that you helped me with, and just kind of, I really just got a whole new wardrobe kind of going through your process. And honestly, it was a little uncomfortable for me at first because it was
Yes.
more like form fitting than I was used to.
Mhm.
Excuse me. And I felt more kind of like seen more so, like, than I didn't I don't think I even realized that I was kind of hiding behind some of my
Oh
clothes
yeah.
choices. And so as I started wearing more of these, like, clothes that were more flattering and form fitting, and people, like, men, started noticing me differently and interacting with me differently, and I was like, "Ooh, this is interesting." Like, I could tell, like, this big shift. And like I said, at first it was a little, like, uncomfortable, but I'm
Mhm.
started to really feel into that more, and it feels good. Like, it feels, I do feel more of that sexy confident. And yeah, it was a big, like we talked about, like, a big energy, like,
Yeah.
it was new energy, and it felt really good. And so I've really enjoyed kind of just, like, paying attention a little bit more to my style and my hair and makeup. And last week, before we had our one-on-one, I had my coaching retreat, and one of the coaches, we just had, like, one of, like, a mixer, And one of the coaches was like, I just love your style. Have you ever thought about doing like a photo shoot for your coaching website? And
Oh
I
my
was
god.
like, oh my gosh,
Oh
nobody has
my
ever
gosh.
said that to me before. And I told her about you and your
Oh.
coaching and everything, because I was like, can you help me with my style? So that was a cool experience too.
Oh my God. No, I didn't know that. That is so well. I remember seeing, because we did the virtual makeover first and you uploaded all your pictures into the closet. And I remember looking at you and like, this girl is so hot and she does not know it. Because your point, like you were so hiding and just not even like you didn't wear like big clothes necessarily. It was just dull and kind of
Mhm.
conservative. And you have such a rockin' body. You're so gorgeous. And I think that the sexy confidence is something where you're really owning yourself, so no matter what weight or how old you are or whatever that is, it's looking in the mirror and not only seeing it but really allowing people to see it. And I think you were hiding. I think there were some fears around people really, or men really seeing you in that way. Would you say that it's true? Or
Oh yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, I mean it was, yeah, 100%. And um yeah, so it was just I think kind of going through that process too, and just still leaning into that discomfort and still putting myself out there. Like it gets easier, and I make things worse in my head than it really is. And just it's just kind of like
Mhm.
the more you do it and the little more baby steps I was taking with it, like it becomes more natural.
That's
And yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Okay. Were there any other like skills you gained in working together? I mean, obviously you're saying them already, but I didn't know if there was other things you wanted to share that was really helpful for you.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, we can kind of talk about this too, like as my like with our one-on-one coaching experience
Mhm.
recently. But I think also what really has stuck out with me too is like as you teach, like gamifying things.
Oh yeah.
And it was really, because that's really where because I'm just kind of naturally, or I guess more so like in the serious side of things. And
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm working on being more intentional with play and having more fun. And, what does that look like? And so, I've heard you talk about this on your podcast before in different, and just our coaching, just as far as how to gamify it. But I think really being like having that like live in person experience at the
Mhm.
hotel bar, and like kind of seeing you model it, and then also seeing like you giving me feedback, and giving me ways of like how to do that. Like, don't just give them, your what you do for a living and your name, like be playful, and this is how you can do that. And that in itself just like instantly shifts your energy. And it's fun. It's more
Mhm.
fun, and I can see how
Mhm.
I can just incorporate that more in my day-to-day life. And so so doing that, and then also like we've talked about, like me taking improv classes has been, I've only
Yes.
taken two, but that has been amazing, just to help me like get out of my head, be more present, be in my body, and just be silly and not care if it's good or whatever. And just like I leave those classes just feeling like, I was like, oh my, that is so much fun. Like it's kind of nervous. I get nervous and like, I don't know if but something comes out and it's like, it works, or it doesn't work, and
Mhm.
that's okay. Like,
Yes. Yes,
um,
exactly. Yeah, and like because I think a part of the hesitation before is like you're worried about what other people not only think and feel, but you're worried about the rejection or not doing it right or having it be perfect, and that can be really paralyzing. And as you're learning to just jump, whether it's improv or, being more aware of just, telling a story, not caring what the guy thinks, like all of those things put you in that empowerment state. And it's where your confidence lives.
yes, 100%.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So no, I want to talk about our recent experience because that was really fun to see. And the way that you and I set up the coaching is we had our phone coaching first, and this was kind of your culmination. And I know, like, there's always still things to learn as we continue on, but you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I was really excited, of course, to see you and meet you in person. But before the actual experience. One of my friends was asking me like, are you excited for the flirting and the dating? And I was like, not really, to be honest. But it's one of those things, like, again, like kind of build up in your head more. And it was actually a lot of fun. And I was, a little nervous at first because it was like, oh, my coach is watching me flirt. And it was like kind of, but it was a very, like, I feel like I was able to kind of quickly shift and just kind of get into it. And really in that process kind of really work on asserting myself. And there was, a cute guy and a girl at the bar. And so it was just really cool to kind of see, and you pointed this out, like how to really make this a really engaging, energetic, like experience. And it just in kind of talking with them and talking with the bartender, and just it was a really cool kind of moment throughout, and just learning some ways to, again, make the conversation lighter, not give too much. And I was really more focused on like inserting myself or asserting myself in the conversation. And it was
Yeah.
funny, like at the end, I mean, you gave me the feedback and I really appreciated, you were like, yeah, but you didn't really flirt. And like these are some things, like, nonverbal things that you can do. And these are some ways that you can, like, instead of just, this is my name or this is what I do, like you can, well, guess my name, or, what do you think I do for a living? Like, and just kind of go back and forth from that standpoint. And then, just approaching it like from a curiosity state of mind, and just going for it, and just whatever happens is great. And then just kind of go from there. And I think that was, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that whole experience. And I think it was helpful too, for me in particular, to have that experience versus just talking about it.
Yes.
So that was a very valuable part of our coaching together. So yes, I did
So
enjoy it
good.
in the
I'm
end.
so glad we captured the moment too with a picture. So if you listening, you want to look on the social media, we have a a picture of our little group that we had that day. Well, and what was funny too is, and I think we talked about this after, how we also like think about people around us, and we make assumptions on who they are, and like that tall big guy, like never in a million years would you think he was who he was, right? And he ended up being awesome, right? That
Yeah.
first impression stage where you might stop and say, oh no, he's not going to be the person to talk to, or I could never like him, or whatever the conversations are in your head. And as you can see, when you just jump and you go for it, you never know the connections you made. And he ended up buying us all the drinks.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that's totally true. That was a very true point for me. I made assumptions, and then it was like, wow, this is actually a really like good conversation. It was fun. And I never would have guessed that the stories and everything that came
Mhm.
out would have happened the way that it did. And so that's a very good point.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, Haley, it's just so beautiful to watch your transformation. And we were talking off air about this. Like, it was fun for me to review where you were then and where you are now. And I know it's just going to keep going and growing. And, you're on the path, and your excitement around it is what is so exciting for me. Cause like you said, you used to dread this. You hated it, and
Hmm.
now you're like excited by it. And that mood shift, the mentality is really exciting.
Yes. Oh my gosh, for sure. And I do want to add like two other things that were pretty huge for me that I
Oh,
was
please.
remembering.
Yes.
One about boundaries and one about just being like fun and playful. I'll do the little bit heavier one first, and then I'll end on the playful one. But
Yeah. Yeah.
talking about the feelings and all of that work, one of the things that this was like so liberating and kind of freeing for me was setting a healthy boundary with my mom.
Oh, I'm so glad you're sharing this. Yes.
And and like, so when I'm with my parents, like they'll often ask me, are you dating? Are you meeting anybody interesting? And that's always been really just triggering for me. And I got really defensive when my parents asked me, because it felt like I hadn't achieved the thing yet. And so it was just a triggering moment for me. And but through working with you, Kimmy, and kind of self-reflecting, I was able to, like, when she asked me that question, I was able to respond instead of react. And,
Hmm.
I just said, I know, like, mom, I know this is not your intention at all, but when you ask me this, it feels like I'm not good enough for you and where I
Mm.
am today. And I'm like, I know that's work that I've got to work on, but I just want you to know that's how it feels when you ask me that question. And I know that's not what you mean, but what I just really need is for you now just to not ask me that question and just know that, when I am with somebody that I'm excited about, I will tell you. And that actually was so freeing for me. I actually felt really empowered and actually more connected with my mom than I have been in a long time. And she had no idea that's how it
Mm.
was making me feel. And so that was just a really like empowering, freeing moment. I'm like, I love this. And I think the feeling work that we did
Mhm.
really helped me be even able to articulate that. So that
Ugh,
was really huge for me.
it's so amazing. Wait, if I could just comment before you go to the next point. What you just said just now, we have it here on the recording. The way you told that story, there was so much feeling in there. Like, I don't even know if you, like,
Yeah.
were aware of it as you were just saying it out loud. You just said a bunch of feeling words, and so I want you to recognize that, and it's so connected, and I know you listening can, like, really feel how impactful it was for you, Haley. That was just so awesome. You demonstrated what you've learned.
Oh, yes, and it was natural, like, I didn't
Yeah,
even
I didn't
wasn't even
prompt
thinking about
you.
it, you know?
No. It
Uh,
said it right there. Oh, so cool. And you mentioned there was something else you wanted to share.
yeah, I so one of the things that I, like, have wanted to do so I'm in Nashville and, like, karaoke is kind of a big thing, and I love music and I love singing, but I have always been scared and nervous to do karaoke publicly, and, like, for years, I've, like, built this up in my head, and it's like, "I need to do it, I need to do it," and so before, like the weekend before I came down to LA, I just went out with some friends. Wasn't even planning to do karaoke, but I was just in this state of like, actually, our mutual friend Allie was like, "Oh, we're doing it," and I was like, "Okay, we're doing it." And yeah, and I got up there on downtown Nashville on Broadway and sang a Garth Brooks song, and
Oh my
I like it
gosh.
was so much fun, and I like totally didn't even like I was like, why did I build this up so much? Like it wasn't even that bad. Like they didn't discover me yet, but maybe that's I don't expect to be discovered for my singing,
Right. That wasn't
but
the
it
point.
was fun. Like it was
Yeah.
just good to I'm like, okay, yes, like that's awesome. So that was also
Wow.
kind of big for me, just
How
getting that.
was that big for you? No, because I know how why, but I'm just for people listening.
Yeah, well, I think it was just well, like being seen and heard and not
Yes.
being good enough. Like I was like, I
Mm.
need to, be good at this. And being seen, being the center of attention on in something that I'm not good at was like, I don't know that I like that. But I just looked around the room and I was like, nobody cares. Like, and everybody's having fun. So I'm just gonna get up there and have fun and that's okay. Like, so
Yes.
that was big for me. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You're being seen, you're being heard, especially right here on this podcast, and it's just gonna continue. So how cool. And I love the stories and the emotions as you're like talking about all this. It just makes me so proud of you. Um, anyway, just as we end, I I wonder because a lot of times people listen to this and it's like, oh my gosh, I want to be like that, or how can I get over myself? And what would you say to people who are maybe thinking about doing coaching, but they're not quite sure, or they're having a hard time, like pulling the trigger? Like, what helped you?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think I guess just being a coach myself and but then also just really I knew something needed to change and I knew I needed somebody that has like your expertise and that I resonated with, that I could feel comfortable and safe with expressing my story and my pain points, that also knew what they were talking about and could hold me accountable to make small changes. Because I never
Mhm.
felt like anything that we did was like unattainable or too big. Like they were just
Right.
in small enough chunks that I was like, okay, I can do this. And so I think, I mean, I have like definitely 100%. Like if you're on the fence, just try it and just sign up for the discovery call and just see if you're a good fit. And I mean, I don't regret it. I mean, it was very impactful in my life, and um, yes, I would just say, just do it.
Just do it, as Nike says. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll get a sponsor out of that. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, Haley, thank you so much. And actually, you have a podcast too. I'd love for you, like, any parting words, and please, like, share with the listeners how they can listen to you too.
Oh, thanks, Kimmy. Yeah, so I have a podcast called the Empowered Adventurer Podcast. So it's helping people get outside so they can grow inside and just live their best adventure inspired life. So I'm on Apple and Spotify and all the places.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to see your next adventure and where everything takes you next. And I hope that you listening was were inspired too, because it, like I always tell people, everybody's success story is different. It doesn't mean that you get the boyfriend or you get the girlfriend. I mean, just finding yourself, finding love for yourself is like the greatest love that there can be. And from there, who knows what can happen, right?
Yes, for 100%.
Okay. Well, thanks, Haley.
Thanks, Kimmy.
And thank you for joining me today. You listening, this has been the Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, of course, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And make sure you go to my site, kimmyseltzer.com, to see more ways I can help you learn how to date smarter, not harder, maybe get out of your head too, and attract the right kind of love. Just hop on a call with me by clicking on the link you see in the show description. And who knows, maybe you will be the next success story like Haley on my podcast after your first call. Remember, working on you is working on your dating life. That's all for now.